The NBA 2K26 MyPLAYER Builder breakdown. Drop a like on the video for me. Let's try to get this to 20,000 likes. Now, first things first, the layout looks a little different, but for the most part, it works the same. You got your height, weight, wingspan. You can change that in the main menu. This is the first screen that you see, but I recommend pressing the bumper to get the detailed view. The detailed view is going to allow you to see not only your body types, but more importantly, the badges that are going to be able to unlock with your height, weight, and wingspan. And also it shows you the badge tiers, which is even more important this year with the Badge Max +1 and +2 perks. Your badge tiers are going to matter. We'll get more into detail of how you can utilize those and what you should be paying attention to, because some of the badges have switched to different tiers at certain heights than last year. So it's not all the same that you're used to from 2K25. But navigating these menus was a little clunky at first. There's so many things to expand and change tabs and stuff like that. You kind of get used to it after a little while, but right off the bat, it's going to be a little confusing. So when you press triangle, you're going to bring up this menu here that has badges, takeovers, and then build by badges. But when you're over the badges tab, if you press square, that's going to expand it and give you the badge layout of tier 1, tier 2, and as you upgrade your attributes, then you could see which badges are being upgraded, you know, pretty much the standard stuff that we're used to from 2K25, but you gotta kind of open all those tabs to be able to see it. But once you get those tabs open, as you put the attributes up, you see the badges, yada, yada, yada. Let's move on to 3-point thresholds, and these have changed. Taller builds can get higher 3-point ratings, but let's go through it. So the tallest you can be to get Legend Limitless is still 6'5". The tallest you can be to get Gold Limitless is still 6'6". But after that, you can get Silver Limitless on every single height in the game. Yes, a 7'4" center can get Silver Limitless, and then you start thinking Badge Max +2, Hall of Fame Limitless. Y'all see where we're going with this. But, so the taller builds can get the higher 3 balls. Also, when we start to look at takeovers, that's going to affect what the tall builds can get takeover-wise. And pretty much a 7'1" can get a 93-point rating, which, as you're going to see in a second, unlocks Deep Bomber. 7'2", 7'3", 7'4" get 89 3 balls, so that doesn't unlock Deep Bomber. But 7'1s, you can have a 7'1" minimum wingspan with Deep Bomber. Pretty crazy. Let's keep going. Wingspans have changed. The max wingspan is 6 inches above your player's height. That is from the shortest to the tallest player. It is universal. I know last year, like 7'1" got like an extra 2 inches compared to 7 foot. Everything goes up by 1 inch. It's 6 inches above the height of your player. Also, the 3-point thresholds have gone up for max wingspan players, probably partly due to the fact that wingspans are a little smaller now, but I think it's also just higher 3-point ratings for taller builds and stuff like that. Takeovers. As I said, you can get Deep Bomber on a 7'1". Make sure when you're making your builds, you are looking at the takeover requirements. It is whatever ability you want, it is the same. I know last year there was like different takeovers that had the same takeover ability, had different attribute threshold like unlocks. Not this year. Whatever takeover ability you want, it is the same requirement regardless of your build. There is no, regardless of the takeover that you choose or custom takeover, the ability is the same rating. So Deep Bomber is 93 pointer. So you got to make sure your build is able to get that if you want to get Deep Bomber. Another example is Blur. Blur is 85 ball handle, 80 speed with ball. So make sure you're looking at these requirements when you're making your build. Very, very important to make sure you get the takeover ability that you want so that you have access to it when you do your custom takeover, or if you're somebody that decides to not use custom takeover, or if you're somebody that doesn't want to use custom takeover, you still got to unlock the ability by meeting the requirements if you use a regular takeover. Okay, the next thing I want to talk about. When you look at the takeovers, pay attention. Some of them have changed. Some of them have been combined. You have, let's say, for example, last year, See the Future was part of the rebounding badge. See the Future is now part of Rim Guardian badge. You also have, like, the Brick Wall take is now part of the rebounding takeover. I'm not using the specific names. Obviously, you look at the list, you can do it, but I'm just giving the generality so it's easy for everyone to understand. You also have, like, the defensive take. It's a combination of both. It boosts your bumps on the ball and your steals this year. So they combine some of the takeovers. Some of them stayed the same, like Deep Bomber is still Deep Bomber, Blur is still Blur, and the layup one is still the layup one. But some of them have been combined, and I think it's like the Sharpshooter one. That one also boosts your ankle breakers now. So that's like the combination of, I think it was called Marksman and Silky Shooter from 2K25. So make sure you're paying attention to the takeovers because the abilities have changed. Some of them have like new names and stuff, but I'm talking more specifically about what they actually do for you. Make sure you're paying attention to it so that you get what you want, because if you just go based off last year, there's a good chance that you're gonna mess it up. But I'm gonna scroll down the list here, and you guys can look at it if you want to pause the video and read some of the descriptions and really analyze the attributes and stuff like that. But pretty much we'll scroll to the bottom of the list, so at least you could just see all the takeover options. But if you're like me, I'm pretty much just worried about the abilities, because I'm gonna be unlocking that custom takeover, and then I'm gonna be putting up the attributes that I want to put up while getting the ability that I want. I know for maybe some more casual players that's probably like a little bit tedious, and maybe you don't even want to have to worry about that. But I know for everybody out there that's like more of a, you know, a sweaty player, or not even sweaty, but just you play 2K a lot, you're gonna want to do the custom takeover to boost the attributes that you want and then get the ability that you want. But like I said, make sure you're paying attention to the ability unlocks, because they are different from last year. Meet those requirements, you'll get the takeover that you want. Let's keep it moving. Next up, let's talk about the new feature. They talked about the animation glossary. Now, I know this probably doesn't sound important right off the rip, especially for the more knowledgeable players, but trust me, it is valuable. A lot of dribble move and dunk move requirements have changed. So when you're in here, I definitely recommend using it, at least until you memorize. Well, maybe you don't memorize them. I usually end up memorizing them, but that's a topic for another day. But I would definitely recommend using this. You could scroll through and see, you know, like I said, dribble moves, dunk move, you know, everything that you want, all the requirements for it. And a lot of it has changed. Something I noticed too is it seems like, and this could be inaccurate, but from what I saw, players' dribble moves all have the same requirement. So it's not like, let's say you want Kobe's escape. Kobe's escape, Kobe's crossover, Kobe's behind the back, Kobe's hezzy. Everything has the same ball handle requirement for each player. There's not like a different requirement for his escape and then his behind the back. From what I saw, everything was the same requirement for each player. You know, all the Durant SIGs were all the same ball handle requirements. Now check this out. A very important small detail here that they changed this year, and I noticed this scrolling through the animation glossary. Standing dunk requirements, although the rating is the same, you have to be 6'5" now. So 6'4" and under cannot equip standing dunks. That's a big change. Those 6'4" locks cutting out the corner, you know, getting those quick standing dunks, small guards being able to get to the dead zone and then go up with that standing dunk cheese. I mean, if you can't equip standing dunks, it's going to be much more. You could probably still trigger an animation here or there, but it's not nearly going to be as consistent as it was in past games. So I feel like that is a small detail that's going to have a big impact, especially in competitive gameplay. 6'5" and up to get standing dunks in 2K26. Now let's talk about badge thresholds. A lot of the badge threshold requirements are the same, but there were some small changes, so just pay attention as you're making your builds. You don't want to miss one by just a couple attributes. And any badge requirement that had 3 attributes tied to it, for example, box out beast, last year it was offensive or defensive rebound plus strength. This year they dropped all those 3 requirement ones down to 2. So now box out beast is just offensive or defensive rebound. There's no strength involved. So pay attention as you're making. Like I said, you're going to notice a lot of the requirements are the same. So it kind of helps streamline the build making process, because a lot of us have those thresholds already ingrained in our head from last year. But definitely just take a second look to make sure you're not missing anything, because like I said, sometimes it is tweaked and you could probably save attributes somewhere because you don't need certain, like you know, if you want just gold box out beast, you just need 85 rebound, offensive or defensive. You don't need to put your strength up to whatever the requirement was last year. So just pay attention as you do things. I remember Versatile Visionary, they dropped the requirement for that. I think it's like 70 for bronze and 78 for silver now. So definitely pay attention as you're looking at the badge requirements. But let's talk about badge tiers. These are really, really important, as we talked about quickly earlier, because of the badge max +1 and +2. You know, you get 1 each in the tier 1, 1 each in the tier 2, plus your build specialization, a whole lot of stuff going on with the badges. So pay attention to the badge tiers. Some things have changed as you flicker between, you know, different heights. You'll see on the bottom badges switch from tier 1 to tier 2 based on height. A major change that I noticed was now 6'8" players, lightning launches in the tier 2 category. So you could use your tier 2 badge max +2 on lightning launch and put it from silver to Hoff on a 6'8" player. So that is really important. Make sure you not only pay attention to the badge tiers, but what badges may have switched from tier 1 to tier 2 from last year that maybe you had ingrained in your head. Let's move on to relevant badges. In the menu now, you can click R3 while you're hovering over an attribute, and you're going to see badges down below that are tied to that attribute will highlight in like a bluish, kind of greenish, like a turquoise. I don't know. You tell me what color it is in the comments. I mean, I'm bad at this, but they will highlight the badges that are tied to the attribute that you're over. It's just a small quality of life thing, but definitely for newer players, it probably is nice to see like, okay, this attribute will help me get these badges. Like I said, for more experienced players, you're probably never going to use it, but for newer players or players looking for more help and guidance in the builder, definitely a valuable tool to use. Let's talk about attribute weights real quick. A lot of the attributes feel relatively similar in how expensive they are at specific heights, but certain things that I noticed, things like driving layup felt like it was a bit cheaper. Pass accuracy felt like it was a bit cheaper. So pay attention as you're going through the builder. It might look so similar, but there are these small little changes that could really have an impact on how good your build ends up being, and more importantly, how much you end up liking your build. You could make a build and then be like, man, I didn't realize like I could have got all this pass ac, or I could have just went 1 inch shorter and got my lightning launch in a different tier, so then I could have used my badge max +2 in a different spot. Like there's just so many little different factors that if you really utilize them correctly, you're going to be able to make some crazy builds on NBA 2K26. But if y'all want to check out a Kevin Durant build that 2K says has no weaknesses, click that video on the screen right there. Let me know what you think.